All right, what's up, guys? Coach Marcus here, Las Vegas, Nevada. How you doing this Tuesday evening, late afternoon, evening, depending on where you are? Thank you for watching today. Let me know where you're viewing from. Give me a heart or a care reaction to this video. Also, do me a huge favor, right? Let me know where you're watching from, city, state, country. Let me know what the weather is where you guys are. I always like to check in with you guys and let you know what the weather is here in my location here in Vegas. It's 69 degrees. So when I woke up this morning, guys, it was in the 40s. It was like 43 degrees this morning. It was cold. So looks like high tomorrow is going to be 72, low 47. So we'll have some lows in the 40s, mid to high 40s, and low 50s, and we'll be in the 60s and 70s probably from here on through November. December gets colder. January is pretty cold. Then February starts to warm up a bit. But I wanted to make another video. Second one today. I try not to do multiple videos per day, but this information is too good not to share. And my birthday's coming up soon. My wife blessed me with an Apple iPad. This thing right here. So it's pretty neat. I was happy about it. But the cool thing about it, this is a tax deductible business expense. So I had her give me the receipt, right? And so I'm like, I'm going to use this for business. So this is going to be a business expense for me, and she even engraved it with Coach Marcus on the back. So that's pretty cool. So I have a nice handy case for it. Took it from my daughter. I gave my daughter the case that we bought for this, and then this is going to be a pretty cool tool for business. That's the great thing about having a business, guys, is some of your normal purchases can turn into tax deductions. All right, make sure you consult your tax professional, right, before you take any particular business deductions, right? But this is a great way. Hold up, somebody's talking. Right, let me turn that video off. But a great way to legally reduce your taxes, and that was one of the reasons I got involved in network marketing back in 2007. Was I was looking for a way to legally reduce my taxes as I was climbing the corporate ladder and watching my income increase and my tax bill also increase, right? Because every time I got involved, every time I received a raise, I got put into a different tax bracket, so that wasn't fun. Let me share this to one page. And that's my Coach Marcus, the Health and Money Guide page. Not group, but that's a page. And let me get through the content for today's video. So I want to have a video series talking about a great way to fight inflation, right? Inflation, man, that's what's considered a hidden tax, right? I have my notes to cover, make sure I don't miss anything. All right, so it's but inflation is basically a hidden tax. People don't realize it, right? You're paying more money for stuff that costs a certain amount a year ago. Now it costs more this year. Like, for example, we use a particular brand of plant-based milk, and last year it was like $4.99 per gallon, right? Or $4.99 for a bottle. I think it's like a gallon of it. Well, now that same bottle is $6.49. So that equates to 30% more, right? We're paying for that bottle that was, $1.50 less a year ago, right? So that's 30%. And so that's a hidden tax I'm paying for a product I like, and we're not going to make any cuts and go for cheaper alternatives because that stuff is good for us. We like it. And so thank God, I'm in a position. Hey, Wendy, thanks for watching. Thank goodness, I'm able to absorb, the inflation hit. But I know a lot of people are having a hard time keeping up with inflation. That's why we're seeing people save less and less of their money compared to when we were in the pandemic. People's savings skyrocketed. Well, now after we came out of the pandemic and things started opening up, people began spending more money, right, and not saving, and now they're seeing the consequences of not saving their money. But when it comes to inflation, I'm going back to September because that's the number I have. back on September, as far as what the government said, uh, inflation was 9.1%. And Wendy, you're in Columbus, Georgia, right? Right, but inflation was 9.1% at the end of September, right? So that right there was the highest inflation number since 1981. However, however, right, the government when they calculate inflation, they don't track certain things. They don't track gas, fuel, eggs, beef, stuff like that because those prices can fluctuate every day, right? So, but for you, the consumer, me, the consumer, if you were to include items like fuel, gas, I'm talking about natural gas, eggs, beef, things like that. If you were to look at what you're paying now versus what you were paying a year ago or September 2021, look at how much more you're paying, right? And then you'll be able to see what the real inflation number is. Now, some numbers say it's about 17.3%. 17%. If that's right, that would be the 75-year high, right? A 17% inflation, right? That's really what it is, right? When you count everything, when it is expensive, when you count everything, right? Even if you're someone who rents, if your landlord has increased the rent from what you were paying last year to what you're paying now, that's inflation. Okay, so when you take when you take real inflation, it's a little over 17%, not 9.1%. Now, the thing about it is this: what happens with inflation? Inflation reduces your purchasing power, right? And so, like $100, 22 years ago in 2000, I'm sorry, 2 years ago, $100 in 2020, right? That same $100, guess what it's worth now? $56. 56, I'm sorry, 20 years, sorry guys. So 20 years ago, I'm just showing you how inflation has eroded your dollar, right? 20 years ago, $100 was $100, right? In the year 2000, 22 years ago. Well, now in the year 2022, that $100 is worth $56, $56, right? So if you were to go back with in today's money, you would only have $56 instead of $100 22 years ago. So inflation eats up your money, right? And that really reduces your purchasing power and your ability to save. And it is getting expensive, Wendy. We see it. I mean, I see when I go out to restaurants and order meals, I see how some restaurants have increased the prices of some of their items on their menu. I see it at the grocery store when I go and purchase eggs and different things that we like. Okay, even some fruit, right? Things like that. I'm saying the stuff costs more. So, but they don't take those numbers into account when they calculate inflation. So, how's it impacting you when it comes to your budget? When it comes to your real inflation, right? Is it more than 9.1%? It probably is, right? So anyway, and so inflation reduces purchasing power. Next 20 years ago, my cart would be half full for $100. Now I only have like 5 or 6 items. Yeah, 20 years ago. Yeah, it's crazy for 100. I know I'm looking. When I go to I typically shop at a store called Sprouts. I go to Walmart for certain things, and then Smith's, which is a Kroger brand store. But I primarily go to Sprouts. They have most of the items we like. So, and even my daughter shops on Amazon Fresh. So I noticed that the $100 I would spend a year ago for our food items, well, that same $100, instead of getting us like 6 or 8 bags, right? We're getting like 2 or 3 bags, maybe 4, right? But usually around 2 or 3 bags. When I go to Sprouts, I used to come out of the Sprouts with like 8, 9 bags of groceries for $100. Right now, for those same 8 or 9 bags, I'm paying probably $150, $180. Right? So it's crazy seeing that. But like I said, thank God, we've put ourselves in a position where we can absorb the increase in costs. A lot of people don't have that benefit, right? They're either on a fixed income or they have jobs or have a job or two jobs that just don't pay them enough, right? So I'm going to get to not this video, but future videos. I'm going to talk to you about a great way to overcome and beat inflation. Okay, but now look, check out what else inflation does. Inflation dissolves savings, right? This is why I'm not a proponent of having a lot of money sitting in a savings account, right? That's not earning you much interest. Even with these high yield savings accounts that may be giving you 2 to 3% interest per year right now, that's still lower than inflation, right? So you may be earning, 2%, 3% in a high yield savings account or a CD or something, but if inflation is 17%, you still have what? You still have a 14 to 15% deficit. So inflation is eating up your savings, right? And so another thing, check it out. So $100,000, say let's just say inflation is 9.1% per what the government is telling us, right? And you can't believe everything the government says, guys. But let's just say inflation is 9.1%, and so $100,000 with a 9.1% inflation rate, that's going to drop that $100,000 by 50% in like 7 years, right? It's going to just evaporate it in 7 years, right? You're going to just have it sitting in a savings account. That $100,000 is going to drop to about $50,000 in 7 years, right? Because inflation is going to eat that money up. So it dissolves your savings. This is why I'm a proponent of investing, even in the stock market, even in precious metals, cryptocurrency, like learning how to trade it, do things like that to put your money to work for you, right? The stock market is a great time, guys. I'm telling you, even though it's taken a dip, right, over the past year, folks, it's going to bounce back, right? And so, but I'm a proponent of putting your money into avenues where your money goes to work for you and your money brings money back, right? It's not going to do very much for you sitting in a savings account or even sitting under your mattress in your house, right? Not earning any interest, okay? And so, and I'm not a proponent of having too much money in the bank, because remember, the banks want you to put your money in the bank, right? So then the bank can take your money, loan to somebody else, and they make money off your money and only give you a small percentage, right? So wake up, folks, wake up. So anyway, so another thing inflation does, right? Inflation negates wage increases or salary increases or raises, right? You get a raise on your job every year. We're approaching the end of the performance year. 2022 is going to end in about 2 months. So many employers are now starting to look at, and have performance reviews done and all that kind of stuff. Then sometime in 2023, they're going to give you a raise, right? The average raise is about 3%. So 3% of your income, that's what your raise is. But if inflation is 9% or 17%, that 3% increase you get still is not going to catch up to inflation, right? In order to beat inflation, you got to get above, let's say the number is 9.1%. You need a raise of at least 9.1%, so you can keep even with inflation, right? To get past inflation, you got to have a bigger raise, right? A 10% raise, a 15% raise, right? Not many jobs are going to give people 10 and 15% raises. I read an article, some employers are going to give people a 4 to 7% raise, still lower than inflation, right? At inflation's current number. So, inflation negates wage increases, and the thing about it is, I'm looking at my notes, says, look, wage growth adjusted for inflation is at its lowest in 60 years. So wage growth adjusted for inflation is at its lowest in 60 years. So really, people really haven't seen their wages go up to outpace inflation, right? So that's why I have an excellent way to overcome inflation. right? And so I could keep going. Yeah, Wendy, I'm sure you, if you work, I'm sure you've experienced, the meager wage that salary increases a lot of these employers give. So this is why it's important to take matters into your own hands and find a way to give yourself a raise and not rely on that job. Having a job is cool, right? But you shouldn't rely on that job to really help you beat inflation because it's not going to happen. Not going to happen. So I'm going to talk about the solution, right? So I have 2 pages of notes to go through. Don't think I'll get through all this in one video, but this is part one. So, but I do have an excellent way to fight inflation, and I can only talk about that because I like to talk about my experience, right? I'm a stay-at-home grandma, just working my at home. Okay, awesome. Yeah. Well, we know people. I work in the corporate world. I work from home, so I have a corporate job, and I'm the one who gives raises to my employees, right? And so anyway, but I'm not at liberty to discuss that. But the raises certainly aren't keeping up with inflation. So I'm going to talk about a great way to fight and overcome it if you want to do that. But folks, pay attention to what the real inflation is. These the government is not telling you what the real number is. It's higher than 9.1%. And like I said, look at your own life and just look at things you were paying for a year ago. Your things you consistently purchase, like how much is gasoline, right, to fill up your car? How much was a gallon of gas a year ago, right, compared to where it is now? Like I'll just type Las Vegas. I'm going to go to Google. I'm going to type average cost of gas in Las Vegas 2021. I'm sorry, I'm going to type 2021. Right. So in Las Vegas, the average, let me see, Nevada rate, it was average was $5.04 a year ago. In 2021, I went to AAA. I don't know if they can do it, if they can go back that year. Let me see. Yeah, I don't think they went. I don't think they went to 2021. I should look this up. Okay, which state had the highest gas price? Blah blah blah. Anyway, I'll have to look that up, right? Because right now they're giving current gas prices, but in 2021, let me see which state had the highest gas price in 2021. So it's all good. So, but anyway, but you guys get my point. Like, pay attention to some of your monthly expenses, what were you paying for? How much did you pay for gas in 2021 compared to how much you're paying for gas now? And I'm trying to find something that has something with the gas prices in 2021 versus 2022. But if I find it, I'll let you guys know and share. If you guys find it, feel free to share that information. But Google's not providing that information right now. They're going, everything I'm finding is through 2022. So that's interesting. Let me see. How much was gasoline in 2021? All right. So anyway, in 2021, the retail price of regular grade gasoline was $3.01. So $3.01. Remember that number, $3.01. That's how much gas was, right? How much is gas in 2022? What's the average price now, right? What's the average price now for gas? Looks like they went through September. So let's go see if I can find what it says in September. It probably was a little bit more. They didn't really break it down by how much it was per gallon, which is, they're doing that on purpose because they really don't want people to know, what the okay, back in okay, yeah, they really don't want people to know. But looks like back in October, regular gasoline in June, just say in June, it was $5, right? So even if you round it to $5, say take that's $5 minus $3, so you have $2 divided by $3. So that's a 66.6 or 67% inflation rate, right? Just saying, if you were to say gas was $3 last year, this year is $5. That's a $2 difference. Take $2 divided by $3. That's going to be about 67%, right? So that's that right there. I'm telling you, folks, you need to include that in your personal inflation number to find out how much inflation is costing you in your house, right? So that's it for today. I'll cover the solution to this inflation thing, and if you guys, hopefully, you're open to a better way of doing it, and you will take action. But several different ways to do it. But the way I like doing it is with network marketing. So, but I'm going to go over some reasons and have some numbers and stuff, and hopefully it makes sense to you. But thanks for watching. Have a good rest of your Tuesday. I have training in about an hour, so I want to hop on that and learn. We have our business builder training tonight and do a product training, and we give away products for people that attend the trainings. That's going to be fun. And so hop on that and then see what I'm going to have for dinner. So thanks for watching. God bless you guys. Hey, Wendy, be well. Be blessed down in Columbus, Georgia. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace and blessings. Bye.